That is roughly the view from our television commentating booth of the opening ceremony at Lenin Stadium in Moscow. The pictures you see are coming to you live. It is starting to get dark here in Moscow. It is almost exactly 10 p.m. Moscow time. The music you hear has been composed by Yuri Chernovsky. Yuri Chernovsky is a very popular young composer. He's 38 years old. He considers himself to be a rock musician. His music has a special style. A lot of electronics are involved in it. He's worked on the music for these games for about a month and a half, selected to write the music by coincidence. A director he knows asked him to do it. Works at home. Said he'd be happy to. Has 2 children himself. Sounds like something that would happen with showbiz in the United States. More athletic demonstrations now by the young athletes. If only the competition was so simple. Competition already underway, by the way, in the Goodwill Games. As you saw earlier, we had some coverage of men's basketball in Spain, of the swimming events here, and of the women's marathon. Of course, we'll continue that coverage following our coverage of the opening ceremony. We had very hard rain just prior to the opening ceremony tonight, but it fortunately and mysteriously, or perhaps not so mysteriously, disappeared. It's still cloudy, but it does not look as though there will be any rain in the next few hours. As we listen to the electronic music of Chernovsky and watch the youngsters perform on the field, I'll remind you that we'll be back to Lenin Central Stadium with opening ceremony following this. You see, holding the red, white, and blue balls are members of professional schools. They are members of the Loktev ensemble, a children's singing and dancing group. The larger, older girls dressed in blue are also members of the ensemble. And they continue to perform in the opening ceremony. This is the children's section. There's an opening and a closing and 5 sections in between that have to do with various forms of life in and around the Soviet Union. And if you think you've seen some beautiful pictures, well, to use the old cliche, you ain't seen nothing yet. There are some beautiful things that are happening here, and we'll be bringing them to you. We're going to pause 5 seconds right now for station identification. More of the children now. Following the children's presentation, by the way, is a carnival. There's one of the athletes in the stands. And I think that may have been one of the women marathoners. I believe there was a woman from Atlanta who was participating in the marathon today. And with me now is a gentleman I've had the pleasure of working with before, and that all of you who are sports fans in the United States will recognize instantly, my friend Paul Hornung. Of course, just this past year, I was very proud to be there when Paul was inducted into both the college and the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Bob. It's been a great year for Paul Hornung, really, and it's even better to be able to be here. This is a very, very thrilling moment for me to be able to have a part in the Goodwill Games. I think sports does transcend boundaries, and I tell you, what we're witnessing here tonight, I hope it's as pretty as home as we're seeing it today. This is absolutely the most beautiful colored. The sound system here at Lenin Stadium is magnificent. This is really something to behold. I'm really enjoying it.
Paul, you were here in 1979 for television coverage of, correct me if I'm wrong, 79 of Spartacade, the national Soviet games.
Yes.
First of all, what are the differences from 79 to 86 and your impressions of Moscow and what's happening here?
Well, I think that was in 1979, Bob, and I think things are much more progressive. First of all, I'm here in different circumstances as far as the broadcast team. We have over 300 people here this trip. Last trip, we only had about 50. And I'm telling you, it was something to remember. I've remembered it all my life, some of the most stirring moments of my life being participating in those games, and I'm really looking forward, along with Skip Carey, my partner, and Don Chevrier, we'll be bringing boxing, which will start next Friday, and it'll be interesting to see. I'm looking forward to it.
The finale of the children's performance. And you see some people down there from the Samantha Smith Foundation, the woman in the center of the screen in the blue dress is Jane Smith, mother of Samantha Smith. And there, the card trick with a picture of Jane Smith, of Samantha Smith. Samantha Smith, you might recall, just to refresh you on the story very quickly, you see members of the Samantha Smith class. She is from Manchester, New Hampshire. She wrote a letter to Soviet leader at the time, Yuri Andropov, inquiring about world peace. Andropov then invited Samantha to visit the Soviet Union. The original tour launched Samantha into prominence as an amateur ambassador of peace between the superpowers. Was selected to co-star with Robert Wagner in a network television pilot. The young girl was tragically killed at age 13 last August in a plane crash that also claimed the life of her father Arthur, and 6 others. A Soviet passenger ship has been named after her. The ship can hold 300 passengers. Samantha's name was painted on the side by Soviet school children. The singer is Vladimir Presnyakov, affectionately known as Volodka, and the youngsters are running up now to the special guest box, bringing greetings. I said New Hampshire. Samantha Smith was from Manchester, Maine. Many of you probably saw our tribute to her earlier tonight on our coverage of the Goodwill Games. American and Soviet school children. A key moment in part of this program, a moving moment here at Lenin Stadium. Also appearing hand in hand, standing beside Jane Smith, Samantha's mother, is Katya Lichova. This year in March, at the age of 11, she made a trip in memory of Samantha to 5 American cities. And the stated aim of her visit, you see her just to the left of Jane Smith holding the bouquet there. On the right of your screen is Katya Lichova. She stated that her visit was to promote peace and friendship between the United States and the Soviet Union. Katya, member of the Young Pioneers, a Soviet children's organization. And Volodka, the teen rock idol here in Moscow, the youngster who just sang. You just heard the chanting of the children as Jane Smith and Katya go to the platform. The children said, "Thank you, our native country, for a happy childhood." A moving moment at Lenin Stadium. As Jane Smith said so eloquently in a broadcast piece for our Goodwill Games coverage, the beauty of the life of her child, Samantha, and the beauty of young Katya traveling to America and their hope for peace, and then the tragic death of Samantha, Jane Smith said, it just proves that the world can be wonderful and terrible. As the children leave the field, we hear the song "We Are to Preserve Peace" by Chishko, sung in the card section, which has momentarily, by the way, become an 11,000-person children's choir. The finale of part 1 of the opening ceremony, part 1 titled "Joy and Peace for Children." Some of the many spectators. There is the VIP box, the officials box, where you heard the address earlier, we hope, of the General Secretary of the Communist Party, Mikhail Gorbachev, and where the children presented flowers just moments ago in memory of Samantha Smith. Paul Horning is with me at the broadcast booth, and we'll be back to view part 2 2 of opening ceremony and comment some more when we return. Please stay with us. Welcome back to Lenin Stadium in Moscow. And now, yes, they are members of the Moscow Service, the circus. The trampolines brought onto the field. Dancers of the circus cavalcade are out. The card section has been showing clown pictures and flowers. We've been listening to Soviet singer Valery Leontiev on the stage. He'll be singing throughout the carnival and participating in some of the tricks. And there are the clowns. There is one very famous Russian clown who will be performing here, and you'll be seeing him. We'll tell you about him when we get to that. Paul Horning is still with us. And Paul, we continue to look at the circus here. The 21,000 participants are impressive alone.
You know, last time I was here, Bob, I was fortunate enough to get a ticket to the circus. The circus is a very big event in Moscow, and when it's here, it's in a one-ring. They're very famous here, the one-ring circus, and we see a lot of the acts that are here tonight, I'm sure, are some of the most famous acts in Moscow history.
Just a quick note, that skit you're watching right now with Oleg Popov, who's wearing a black suit and a white hat, and he's chasing the singer Valery Leontiev, helping or hindering when he's running around the car. The car, you see the writing on the car, that says Yemshi, which means I eat cabbage soup. And I do understand that.
Yes, you have to eat cabbage soup, folks, if you're here.
Of that. Cabbage soup is a traditional Russian first course, and for me, on several times the last week or so, has been the only course. As we watch the beauty of the circus, we just experienced a few moments ago a very moving moment here with a tribute to the late Samantha Smith, the young American girl who became an envoy of peace to the Soviet Union, and her mother Jane Smith was here in some moving ceremonies, and Jane Smith is now fieldside with Marianne Laughlin.
Thank you, Bob. We are here with Jane Smith, Samantha Smith's mother, and Miss Smith, I know this return visit to Moscow must bring back some sad memories, but also some joyous times for you.
Exactly, both sad and happy, but I've brought a group of Samantha's classmates with me who are having a wonderful time. We're just so excited to be here at the Goodwill Games to finish up our trip and to see some wonderful sports competition.
I understand this is pretty much an exchange all the way around. You were talking with Katya Licheva earlier tonight, who went to New York City. How does she feel having all these Americans here in her town?
I couldn't hear you. All these Americans what?
Having all these Americans here in Moscow.
Oh, well, we didn't specifically talk about that, but I think it's exciting. And she was very cute with our kids, too.
And all the kids like Moscow, all the American kids who are over here?
Yeah, well, we've just spent 4 days at Artek on the Crimea, on the Black Sea, and they loved it there. We had tearful goodbye. A lot of them wanted to stay, but I think they're ready to go home now, too. They've had a tiring but wonderful trip.
It's very, very nice to be talking with you, Miss Smith. Thank you for joining us. Let's go back to the booth, Bob.
Thank you, Marianne. You continue to watch members of the Moscow Circus, and it is unbelievable, some of the things that are happening. As a matter of fact, it's so beautiful. The music also is just contagious. So let's watch and listen. Some of the horsemen of the Soviet Union. We've been entertained by jugglers, roller skaters, equilibrists, floats, beautiful balloons. Opening ceremony continues from Lenin Stadium in Moscow. We'll return in just of the world with the theme ceremony. These circuses are the same. It is fun no matter where you might be witnessing, whether in the Far East or whether in the Soviet Union or whether in the good old US of A. I've been joined in our broadcast booth now by a man who's already been hard at work here. A face and voice known to every sports fan everywhere, Curt Gowdy. Curt, great to have you with us.
Thank you, Bob. One word for this: stunning.
I know you've seen some opening ceremonies, some card sections in your day. How would you compare it?
I remember the early days of television before I ever got to do the Rose Bowl. I thought those card sections out there in Pasadena and the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum were the best. But this is the greatest card section I've ever seen. They must be planned, organized, and practiced for months. All young girls. They say the boys aren't good enough at it.
They said the girls were much more coachable in doing this. There are 11,000 teenage girls, and the gentleman who directs this, his name is Lev Nemchik, as I'm sure you are aware, was an engineer in the Soviet Union, and he was so caught up in this and did such a job, he's now transferred his work to this card section, works at it full-time, works with artists to set up the drawings and the paintings, and then, of course, it comes to life here at Lenin Stadium. So there are the circus performers representing various parts of the world. We got a little bit of sneak preview, and I'm going to not tip it off to the folks watching right now, but something that Curt Gowdy from Wyoming can relate to a little bit later. Curt, your impressions of Moscow, of the Goodwill Games, as you're getting underway with your reportage. I know you participate already in coverage of the women's marathon today.
Well, there is a feeling of goodwill here, and this is, I hope this is the first of many Goodwill Games promoting peace and great relations among countries. My biggest surprise of the Soviet Union is the rock music that I hear on television. I can remember 5 years ago hearing that they wouldn't allow rock music here. They have great rock music. It's not as frenzied as ours, and the audience doesn't get wild, but let's listen to some. And this composer wrote this in a month and a half, this whole score. It's marvelous.
Yuri Chernovsky wrote the music. Just listen and enjoy. You're going to see some incredible sights, ladies and gentlemen. That's 50 meters.
They've been hanging up there for about an hour under a cloth cover. Real hangers-on, huh?
You find them all over the world. We watched the other night during some of the rehearsals these performing aerialists, who, of course, you're not seeing right now, but they're underneath the giraffe at each end of the stadium. At each end of the stadium, they just left them there until it was time to take them away, and nobody fell.
This is the only cart section I've ever seen that can make a river run, make waves lap on a lake, and mountains shine. Look at the movement in the cart section when it comes up again.
Look at that young lady. Hey, no problem. New meaning to bouncing your child on your knee.
Hey, hey, hey.
And is that Curt Gowdy on the horse? No, because he's here beside me. But that's an American cowboy at Lenin Stadium. I would chance to say there haven't been a lot of good old American cowboys come through here.
I don't know how many, but here they are. And this is a salute to the United States in the Wild West by the Soviet Union.
These are trick riders, by the way, and they'll be performing some tricks for you in just a moment.
By the way, Bob, that's been a dying art in rodeo. I remember as a boy growing up in Cheyenne at the famous Cheyenne Frontier days, we used to have the great trick riders. It disappeared, but now it's coming back again. Marvelous horses with beautiful costuming and great ability by the riders, both men and women.
There are the performers on the balance beam, and speaking of women, a lariatist is performing.
Larietta stuff.
Larietta style.
I like that.
Close enough.
It's a trick roper.
There's the view from the top 50-yard line, as we might say, with American football. The music you hear in the background with a Latin American flavor, and we're going to see some Latin American type performers also on the field. Some young ladies, the only way you saw them a moment ago, in the red skirts and the white blouses dancing on the field. As you look past the clowns there, and you now look as though they work at Maggie's Diner. So that may be a tribute to America also, and from Latin America now.
There I was 20 years ago.
You saw in the card section across the way, a cactus is the design on the card section right now. And there are the girls from Maggie's with American-like moves. Well, the Orange Bowl would be proud of this kind of ceremony. Here come the trick riders, by the way, right in front of the reviewing stand. And this horse will really do some tricks here.
Ride 'em, cowboy.
A sight you've seen. They even followed through to the detail of the bronc buster getting thrown. This is a challenge for the directors here. There are 23 cameras covering this, but there's many more than 23 things happening on the field right now. Even if we could show you all 23, you couldn't see it all. But we'll try with a lot of quick shots for you. As we watch the representatives of many nations perform in the circus section of the opening ceremony here at Lenin Stadium, this is Bob Neal along with Kurt Gowdy. We'll be back in just a moment. Ceremony from Lenin Stadium. Kurt, I know you can only stay with us a couple of more minutes as you're preparing for some more sports coverage, but it's been great having you with us in the booth.
Thank you, Bob. We'll be doing a men's marathon tomorrow. I'll be talking to you back and forth. Thank you.
The voice you hear singing is Valery Leontiev, and the beauty and joy of this is now being symbolically darkened here at Lenin Stadium, and there's a reason for it. The light is suddenly growing dim, and you're going to see in the card section a mushroom cloud. Mushroom cloud obviously signifying a nuclear explosion, and you see the cross, the Xing mark. The idea of this entire and very somber demonstration is that peace and goodwill and people of good intentions can overcome the nuclear threat by efforts such as the Goodwill Games, by efforts such as communications, by efforts such as Samantha Smith, Katya Lichova. So you're going to see some symbols of war and destruction in the cards section, but you will see the X's mark them out. A nuclear missile, a destructive missile, and a dance that is happening on the surface of the stadium, directed by Irina Mazangva, and Ivan Kosenko. The name of the number is Grazia. The girls are dressed in black and white, symbolizing the struggle between good and evil. So as we watch now, understand that the idea here is that peace and goodwill can overcome the articles of war, of death and destruction. Young women dancers on the field now, dressed in black and white, good and evil. The card section continues to just ripple and come alive with motion on the far side of the field. As you can tell by the lights reappearing, the increasing tempo of the music, the symbol of people overcoming the destruction of war. I don't know if you can get the full effect on our television coverage of a chilling moment in Lenin Stadium in Moscow. Previous symbols of a crying mother. And now, of course, the birth of the child, new life. And on the card section on the far side, the dark, somber colors of gray and brown, olive are changing to the colors of the rainbow. Applause starting to come from the crowd at the stadium. There's a hand and a dove. Oh, my. Very unusual for a Soviet audience to break into spontaneous applause, which is happening here at Lenin Stadium. You hear the guitar being strummed by a Soviet popular singer and composer, Yuri Antonov. He sings that peace on the planet depends on us. Every day, every hour, peace on the planet depends on us. Yuri Antonov.
Мир на нашей планете зависит от нас. Пусть цветет на земле жизни солнечный сад, чтобы мир не попал в новый ядерный ад. Будем помнить о том каждый день, каждый час. Мир на нашей планете зависит от нас.
Every day, every hour, peace on the planet depends on us.
Молодые листа, белой и цветной, помоги нам сейчас Будем помнить о том каждый день, каждый час. Мир на нашей планете зависит от нас. Будем помнить о том каждый день, каждый час. Мир на нашей планете зависит от нас. Не война, а любовь, мир без крови и слез. Мы за солнечный свет и сияние звезд. Будем помнить о том каждый день, каждый час. Мир на нашей планете зависит от нас.
In the card section, you see the large letters that look like M, a backward N, and P in the Cyrillic alphabet. That word spells mir. It translates to peace. We'll be right back.
Не враги, а друзья. Радость жизни для всех, а иначе нельзя. Будем помнить о том каждый день, каждый час. Мир на нашей планете зависит от нас. Будем помнить о том каждый день, каждый час. Мир на нашей планете зависит от нас.